Oh my goodness. Oh, you did it again. I looked away for 2 seconds. You went live. Whoa! What did you just knock over?
Well, the USS Franklin has once again crashed, but this time
Oh no!
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
We know it will fly again.
Whew, that was awkward. Hey everybody. The
It's a
Unready
day.
Room. Yeah, welcome to the Unready Room. As usual, living up to its name. I'm Dan Gunther, with me, of course, Brandi Jackola. How's it going over there?
Oh, I have been sick all week and I am faking it
Oh,
so hard. It's all
I am
good.
so
It's all
sorry.
good.
That's not
No, it's
fun.
fine. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm coming out of it finally, but
Oh, that's
it's
good.
it's been a difficult week, but
Oh, that's not fun.
no,
Yeah.
this
Well,
is my catharsis.
it sounds like you're on the upswing though, so that's good. I hope that continues for sure. Am I frozen or is Brandy frozen? Anyway, I'm gonna continue on as though I'm not the one frozen. Anyway, so yeah, today we're here to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 9, Rubicon. And okay, Brandy apparently was the one who was frozen, and she is now
Yeah,
back. So okay.
totally was me.
Okay.
Yeah, totally
Um,
me.
all right. Yeah, so Rubicon, latest episode
Mm-hmm.
of Star Trek Discovery, which I'm convinced must just be one of Deep Space Nine's runabouts shows up to save the day, right? Is that how that works? I think. No? Okay. Um,
Yes, that's how it works.
yeah, sure. No.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, crossing the Rubicon, of course, being the metaphor we're going for
Yes.
here. I'm tired again this week. Can anybody tell?
It's okay. You're with friends here. There's no
Yes,
judgment.
absolutely. And hello to all of the friends in the chat. I consider you all friends. Thank you for joining. And thank you to everyone who's watching later. Really appreciate you as well. And yeah, so first of all, I guess let's just get it out of the way at the top of the episode. Brandy, did you like this one? Oh, loaded question.
No, it's okay. I thought it was a great episode. Um Unfortunately I was right about how the episode went, and I didn't want to be right. I really, really didn't, but I felt it
Mhm.
coming. I felt it
Yeah.
coming because Tarka. So
Hmm.
yeah, I have so much to say, but no, I did like the episode. I think it was a solid episode. I'm glad that Book had his come to Jesus moment or come to Michael moment, however you want to put it.
Either way, religious names still kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
So yeah, I actually was very invested in everything that was going on. So
Mhm.
yeah, it even had some quieter moments, which I really appreciated, and some really adorable moments.
Oh yes, we will get to the adorable moments for sure. so many so many great things in this episode. I really enjoyed this one. I'm definitely sensing there's a bit of polarization, maybe not polarization, but some kind of lukewarm feelings online towards this episode just generally. I think comparatively speaking, maybe to other episodes in the season or something like that. Yeah, I'm seeing some charges of predictability is some of the things I've seen. And oh, actually, just saw that come up in the comments too. TJ, it was a very predictable episode. We'll get to that, some of that. That's interesting. Okay. Um, yeah. So yeah, lots of Wellington. I appreciate this as well. There was a lot of yelling at the screen in our house as well. So
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I
yeah.
was yelling swear words. There were swear words that I was yelling. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to be right, but I knew I was
Yeah.
going to be right.
Yeah, with the title of the episode as well, I felt like the big thing that happens in this episode was going to happen a little bit. Of course, Stefan calls it out here exactly. I guess the Rubicon was an historical reference about crossing lines with no way back. Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I saw that title, I was like, uh-oh. I didn't
And
just think about Deep Space Nine runabouts.
well, the interesting thing is that it means it applies in more than one way.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the titles, I was going to say have this season, but have for all 4 seasons of Discovery. Really, I do love when that happens. I'm trying to think the last big one that I really noticed that about, but my brain's not working right now. But yeah, I've been
It's
noticing
okay.
that there's a lot of episodes where the title just has multiple meanings in the show, which that's great.
It's impressive.
Hmm.
It's difficult to find that one thing that describes many things, that applies to more than one plot point or more than one character or, just more than one anything in an episode. That's tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, this week we get kind of a continuation of the hunt for Book, I guess, with him and Tarka having completed the weapon and making their way to the DMA, and Burnham in hot pursuit. However, with a familiar face riding herd on the mission as well. And as we can see from the name you've chosen this week, we have the return of Rachel Ancherl as Non. That was so
Yes.
cool.
Yes, yes, yes. I was so excited by that. And because when they were saying, because we don't get the next week on Discovery thing here on
Yeah,
Paramount Plus.
we don't either here in
So
Canada.
so I had no idea because I figured she was probably going to show up again at some point in the season, but the capacity in which she showed up was not expecting that. But
Hmm.
saying that it was going to be a familiar face, I'm like, but who could it possibly? And then I went, no, just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do see every week is the like 4 or 5 or 6 little photos that get released from the upcoming episode. So unfortunately, non-featured in those photos. So that was the
Yeah.
one part of the episode where I was like, this was not a surprise at all. And the little bit of not hesitation, the little bit of anticipation build up that the Admiral did there. I was like, we know it's Non. Come on, come on, come on. But
Yeah. Well, and see that I don't even look at the pictures. I just
yeah.
want, yes, I get the screeners. Okay. I get to see it before most other people, but I don't want any pre-existing information to
Hmm.
color my view of my first screening of it. So I mean, the screener that they send us, they have a bunch of publicity photos attached to that. And I just don't even look at them. I don't even look at them. I don't want to know. I just want to watch the screener. I just want to have a genuine reaction of not knowing what's coming. I don't
Yeah.
read the synopsis. I don't read anything. I just want to experience it.
I kind of envy you that, because that's one thing, like I can totally do that with like Star Wars, their shows and stuff. I'd come to each of those episodes completely fresh and not anything, but like with Star Trek, I'm like, oh, Trekcore has preview photos, let me see. Like, darn it.
It's like,
uh,
no, 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 spoilers.
yeah. Yeah, but I was definitely happy to see her in this episode, even though I unfortunately saw it coming. But yeah, and her role in the episode, that was a great surprise. I thought that was really interesting. And I love that. I feel like in previous Star Treks, or even in Discovery under different circumstances, that situation would be kind of a fertile ground for a lot of recrimination, a lot of
Mm,
feelings of inadequacy and that kind of thing, where like Starfleet doesn't think that I can remain objective and they have to have this person watching over me. I'm going to do all I can to kind of circumvent that and work around it and that kind of thing. This episode I thought was a lot of fun because Burnham understands why they want to do that, and even kind of says, like, if I were them, I might be kind of doing the same thing. I'm very close to this situation, and what I'm going to do for the next hour of television is work as hard as I can within those strictures to get this mission done. And there are moments where you can tell Burnham is even self-reflecting a little bit, like, am I being too close to this? Am I not being objective? But the fact that she's willing to even entertain that thought rather than just say, well, that's BS, I'm completely objective and nothing you say is going to convince me otherwise. I really appreciate that. I love that level of self-reflection.
I agree. It's like people who are like they question whether they're sane. If you're questioning if you're sane, you're sane. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
People who are insane never question their sanity. That's just how it works. So if you're questioning whether you're capable of carrying out a mission, you're absolutely capable of carrying it out.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's hard. It's really hard for her, and the way that she handles things, I know Non thinks that she's getting emotional, but her knowledge of book and her relationship of book is what actually made this mission almost a success.
Mm-hmm.
And if it weren't for Tarka, seriously, after he found out that Tarka had messed with his ship as far as the security system, should have
Yeah,
just put him in the brig. Just put him in the brig.
absolutely.
You can't trust him at that point. But
Yeah.
Book is one of those people that just he's he was so blinded by what he wanted to do, and he was willing to ally himself with someone with the same objective but not for the same reasons, and just ignore a ton of warning signs. Hello, Mr. Empath. What
Mm-hmm.
the H was that?
Yeah. No, it's funny. A lot of what you're saying really mirrors the conversation that Bruce and I just had moments ago recording Positively
Gross.
Trek. And
Gross.
yeah, the whole same goals but different motivations, I think, really comes into play hard in this episode in a
Mhm.
lot of really interesting ways, too. And also, the one thing about Burnham being so close to Book and that being a big reason why the mission came as close to success as it did, um,
Mhm.
which is unfortunately all we can say about the mission by the end. Uh, I love that that's a reason that she's on the mission as well. Like, to kind of juxtapose it with Picard being kept in the neutral zone while the fleet engaged the Borg cube in First Contact. They said that, like, his vulnerabilities, to put him in that situation again would introduce an unstable element to a critical situation. But this time around, Starfleet literally says that because you're so close to Book, yeah, that could be a vulnerability, but it could be also what wins us the day. And I love that that's like a reason she's on that mission. And the fact that Discovery can get there like that too.
Yeah, that is true. To be fair, if it weren't for Picard disobeying orders and going to engage the Borg anyway, they'd all be dead. They'd
Mm-hmm.
all be dead. And Earth would be Borg.
Yep.
And so would the entire probably quadrant, etc. So they ought to be dang glad that that unstable element showed up anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair. I love that. Um, yes, absolutely. And so yeah, we've got this mission. They're going to the DMA, and yeah, they have to intercept Book, and we get this kind of cat and mouse chase a little bit.
Jump tag!
Yeah, which was interesting because there were moments of them going into the DMA and chasing down Book and stuff that really gave me a feeling of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and the Mutara
Mm,
Nebula thing.
mhm.
And it was like that for a few moments. That's not what the whole episode is, but there's just a portion of the episode that felt like that, but with Spore Drive added into it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is really cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was impressive. And of course, what I'm thinking is, how can they figure, okay, it's Book and Stan that's in the spore drive. Of course, they're going to be able to see everything. So, oh, they just popped in right there. Well, we'll pop in right there. So, but it was so quick. He had to react so quick, both of them, to stay ahead or close to one another, that it was impressive and also stressful for me.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And the exchange of fire, the like
Mhm.
torpedoes, that felt stressful to me too. Especially when Tarka just like pounds on the panel and fires a crap ton of quantum torpedoes at Discovery, and we get the usual rocks exploding from the wall and stuff of Starfleet ships, and like the indication that things are really bad is when the rocks start exploding from the walls and consoles, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
that wasn't good.
No, it wasn't, and I knew it was gonna happen. I was just waiting for it to happen, because and here's the thing, and Dave brought this point up as well. Um, yeah, oh, Matt's saying something that I hadn't really vocalized.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
grudges on Discovery, y'all.
yeah.
Yeah,
What the
mhm.
hell?
What? He doesn't care. Well, he says at one point that this Tarka says at one point that this mission was 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
10 years in the making. And he couldn't wait one more week.
Hmm.
Really? That's a bully, y'all. That's a bully.
Yeah,
It's his
absolutely.
way or no way, and he doesn't care who he steps on or who he hurts. So all of that, well, I want to go home. Screw you. Don't care anymore. Never
Yeah.
cared. You're
Yeah,
an awful
absolutely.
human. Excuse me, you're an awful Ryzen, an awful person. And I hope you get thrown in the brig and die there. Okay,
Wow.
that was extreme. I'm sorry.
I don't no. No, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. I'm good with
Because
that.
he's just brought hell down on everyone in the
Yeah,
Alpha Quadrant.
absolutely. The thing about the motivations I think is really fascinating, because I love, like you said, Book has his kind of come to Jesus moment, right? With Michael, and I love that, Tarka wants the same ends, the same goal basically that Book wants, but for very, very different reasons. Book doesn't care about Tarka getting home. That's not why he's doing it. He wants to save as many lives as possible.
Yeah.
Burnham also wants to save as many lives as possible. So her making the argument to Book is going to carry a lot more weight than Tarka's argument, even though initially they have the same goal. The words that the two of them say, the Burnham ones are going to get a lot more weight because of that. And the only time Tarka pays any lip service to saving lives is when he knows that that's a tool that he can use to manipulate Book.
Yeah.
And Tarka doesn't care at all about saving lives. He has no goal. That's not doesn't even enter the into the equation, other than, like I said, a tool to manipulate books. So I love seeing that play out, where Michael is able to gain ground on Book's conscience and his sense of right and wrong, and Tarka just doesn't get anywhere with him, because fundamentally he's never going to be able to match that argument ever.
Yeah. Well, Tarka is a horrible person, like I
Mhm.
said before. And honestly, Book should have seen this coming, especially with the things that happen only in this episode. If you even only had the things in this episode alone to go by, as far as Tarka's character, that's enough to
Mhm.
like lock that guy out of your system. Of course,
Yeah.
he'd probably find a way back in, but it wouldn't be that fast. So it's just ooh. You know that Book cares about people, because when they do the sneaky shuttle thing and try to board Book's ship, and then he finds out that Tarka installed a new security system without even saying a word.
Mhm.
that's going to kill them and destroy
Yeah.
the shuttle.
With
It's like,
no oversight at all. No, like, he designed it to be completely autonomous. Well,
yeah,
that's
that's a
cool to
bad.
wash your hands off of murdering a bunch of people. Great, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't care. And the fact of the matter is, and I'm sure that he will not take any responsibility for it, by destroying the DMA and getting not what he wanted from it, because why didn't it occur to you that the controller is just the controller on this end? You know there's a wormhole component, and you didn't think that the power source was on the other end? Like,
Mhm.
but not only that, it's like he however many people die when 10C comes a knocking, and they
Mhm.
absolutely will. He's not going to feel a thing about it. Not
Yeah.
one thing, because he's a bully and he's a sociopath.
Yeah. And as David points out, not as smart as he claims either. You know, that's
Mhm.
the thing. It's the I mean, there's some scientific brilliance at some point and all that sort of stuff, but like all narcissists, he feels that he cannot fail.
Mhm.
And it's obvious that he can and does frequently at this point.
Oh, the
Um,
look on his face when he realizes that the power source isn't there. I was just like,
yeah.
sucks to be you. But at the
And
same time, I'm like, oh, it really was all for nothing.
yeah. And even that was foreshadowed, I think, in last week's episode too, when he didn't
Mm,
figure out the changeling thing. It was Book
yeah,
that figured it out. You know, I think that was foreshadowing that, he's not as observant as and not as brilliant as he thinks he is, right? So
he's not. He has a very intelligent brain. He, however, does not know how to use it to see all sides of anything.
mhm.
He only, and that's the narcissism point. It makes you blind to other
Yeah.
things. Makes you blind to your own failings. So, yeah, and I have zero sympathy for him.
Yeah. No,
I can't.
absolutely.
I just zero sympathy.
Yeah. So yeah, they destroy the controller, like you said, and so yeah, we get Book surrendering basically, and coming around to Michael's point of view, but of course Tarka's there, and yeah, as people have pointed out in the comments already, don't turn your back on Tarka. You know, he's the wild card, he's the unknown element here, and yeah, he launches the weapon and destroys the controller and collapses the DMA. And as we find out towards right at the end of the episode, a second DMA just reappears where the old one was. And John Guppy had this great comment. I had a very similar thought when I was watching this episode, but John Guppy commented in the Positively Trek discussion group on the spoiler thread, and I see that he's here today with us as well.
Hi,
He
John.
said, I can't get this picture out of my head. In some cramped control room somewhere, two entities have this exchange. The DMA just went offline in an isolytic explosion. Huh, I thought we fixed that. Go ahead and send out a replacement. Like they're just like, that's weird. Flick.
Mhm. Well, and that's the thing. It's like knowing what's actually happening under that silver bean. We don't know, but the thing is that there is that silver bean, and the amount of power that's it needed to generate it speaks to their level of technology and possible xenophobia. And so making any kind of assumptions about, destroying their mining uh, procedure, their mining operation, just again,
Mhm.
he is working under only what he thinks he needs to know. And he doesn't, he, I mean, literally, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he doesn't even think to look for anything else. He
No.
doesn't think to wonder how they got the DMA here in the first place. Oh, wait, there's a wormhole. How quickly could they get a replacement here? That never crossed his mind.
Mhm. Yeah, and it feels like something that I thought would be an interesting story early on in the season, and it seems to be kind of the way they're going, is the just the two different levels of civilization.
Mhm.
Like we're on this level of like ants or
Yep.
mice or whatever, and we just chewed through a little bit of wiring in the wall, and the humans went, oh, this the wiring's faulty in this room, well, let's replace it. There we go. And the mice are going, I thought we turned all the lights off, what happened? Like, we're just,
Yeah.
it's not the best analogy, but it's something like that. Oh, I think Brandi might be frozen again. But yeah, I really like that idea of those of you in the comments who have watched Babylon 5. One of my favorite scenes is Jakar picking up an ant from a flower and putting it back, and then saying, like, from the ant's perspective, what the heck do you think, what does he think happened there? We're so far above them, and there's alien races out there that are that far above us that we are like ants to them. So yeah, I love that Star Trek seems to be kind of playing in that bit of fertile ground for storytelling. So yeah, it seems Brandi is still frozen. Yeah, so let's, oh, okay, hopefully she'll be right back. Awesome, Donnie, I'm glad you're watching Babylon 5. It's definitely worth checking out. Yeah. And Wellington, yeah, I had this thought as well that we might be okay, right? Species 10C might not see the destruction of the DMA as any big thing, might be all, that was slightly inconvenient. The thing is, we don't know, right? It could, maybe this is seen as an attack. Maybe it's seen as like oh, that was weird. Wonder why that happened. I think the safe assumption is to say that it was something they noticed, because, then you're protecting yourself, but might get lucky. You never know.
Yeah, I missed the Babylon 5 discussion. Damn it. Anyway, I love Babylon 5. This is what I think. Okay, obviously, the mining of boronite is extremely important to species 10C because, if we follow the
Mhm.
trail of clues, they are using it to create omega particles.
Mhm.
And without those, they can't, continue to live in their silver beam. So I'm guessing that they're not amused at all that there is
Mhm.
something in our galaxy that has the capability of destroying their dredge. And they're not going to take kindly to it. It's my personal feeling.
And that makes sense. Yeah. To continue the analogy that I used earlier, when you have mice in the walls chewing through cables, what do you do once you've repaired the cables? You kill all of the mice.
Mm,
So, that's doesn't bode well for us poor little mice or ants or whatever we are
yeah.
in this whole analogy. So, yeah. On that
Wow.
lovely thought, anything else we want to talk about with regards to Book and Burnham in this episode?
Well, I do like when they did the little sneaky shuttle thing that Book was extremely concerned for everyone making it back to Discovery alive and was really pissed off at Tarka, and rightly so.
Mhm.
And yeah, they got saved at the last minute. That was horrifying. I mean, we all knew that they'd be saved. They're not going to kill off Saru and Culber.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, Bryce and Reese, maybe. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, I'm totally kidding. They would not. But that was tense and scary, and I love how Awoshikan just deposits them all on the bridge so that everyone can see they're okay.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a tense moment and really well done. Also,
Mhm.
just the visuals in this episode, like the programmable matter or whatever it was that was like enveloping the shuttle while it was still cloaked. That was just such an interesting visual, and then the shuttle just being ripped apart. in that moment, of course, like more how are they being saved, not I think they might be dead. That didn't enter my mind, but it was still a really well done tense moment for sure.
Well, Owoshikun had to wait until the last second when the shuttle was literally ripping apart so that
Mm-hmm.
she could get a lock on their signals. And it was only because the shuttle was literally ripping apart that she was able
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
So the second it broke open, she got him. But
Yeah.
just,
Not a good time for your finger to slip. So, good job, Owoshika.
well, I have utter faith in Owoshikun getting the job done.
Absolutely.
She's done it many times before. So, yeah, I wasn't worried about that. It just, it still was one of those tense things that I'm like, they could actually kill off any of these people at any time. We don't know. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm still a little bit traumatized about Rika Sharma's character in season 1. Like that was a little
Mhm,
bit of oh, okay, so they can do that.
mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Bryce and Reese, I want to talk a little bit about their exchange because they
Yes.
had that bit of a disagreement, and Reese kind of sees things a bit from Book's perspective, saying like, if this thing's killing a bunch of people, maybe we should destroy it. I think that's a kind of a good idea. And Bryce argues the opposite side. And anytime an episode of Star Trek can remind me of something that I really loved about Deep Space Nine, that's a good thing in my books. And I was totally flashing back to some of the discussions about the Maquis that happened in Deep Space Nine.
Mm,
There's a scene on the bridge of the Defiant where O'Brien's basically saying, like, you know, think of things from the Maquis perspective, right? The Federation gave away their colonies and suddenly they find themselves on the wrong side of the border. And I'd be pretty mad too. And Worf is in the captain's chair, basically like, nope, Starfleet said to hunt them down. We have to hunt them down. Like, I'll brook no discussion about this. But it reminded me of that kind of exchange. I really appreciated that. I was like, anything that makes me think of DS9, I'm so happy about.
well, yeah, it was the whole Maquis thing and the Cardassians. I saw both sides of it, and frankly, so did
Hmm.
Cisco. And it was a difficult,
Oh yeah.
difficult thing because, well, the thing is, and I get it, if somebody came and told me that I had to leave my home, pack up all my stuff and go, uh, yeah, I would not be happy about that.
Hmm.
The thing is that we're living in the future where they're living in the future where, yeah, they can go somewhere else and have everything they had before. I, that's not the same choice that people right
Hmm.
now have. And so the fact that they're like, yeah, but I don't want to go there. I want to be here. Well, you can have all the same things, but yeah, I don't want that there. I want it here. And at the same time, just unilaterally deciding this is now not your territory anymore. This now belongs to the Cardassians. Again, you can see both sides of it, and there is no good answer.
Hmm.
There just isn't.
Yeah. And I see that in this as well because Book doesn't have he has a good argument on his side. Tarka doesn't. Like, screw that guy. But I can see why Book is doing what he's doing. I wouldn't do the same
Mhm.
thing in his position. I would be on the other side of that argument, I think. But at the same time,
Mm.
like, I understand where he's coming from. And Kung has a great comment here, actually. Their argument may reflect their jobs. Bryce is the comms guy working to reach out to 10C, while Reese is the security tactics guy focused on offensive action. That's a really good point, and I like that. And
Mhm.
to me, it feels like the writers are paying more attention to that than I was, because that's a great point. That's excellent.
It is an excellent point, and now that just makes me think of, Reese being like Shax and just wanting to arm photon torpedoes and fire. Let me just
Well,
fire. Let me just fire. I'll get him.
Yeah, for sure. Um, which is interesting because one of the backup plans in this episode that Non briefs Burnham on once that she feels the situation has gotten to that point is this weak spot that the prototype spore drive has introduced into Book's ship. That, you know, if you hit this one spot with a photon torpedo, you'd completely destroy the ship. And Burnham, of course, for obvious reasons, is hesitant to use that because, you know, obviously because of her relationship with Book, but also because she genuinely believes, and I think has proven right, that she can diffuse the situation with Book anyway, without resorting to that. What's interesting, and I love this moment, is when she leaves the ship in the shuttle to go talk to Book, she says to Reese, prepare to execute that solution on Non's order. If she orders you to do it, do it. And she trusts that she will make that decision. I love that moment. And also the fact that it's Reese with his finger on the button, ready to destroy this ship of someone that he just recently said he agrees with. He agrees with what Book is doing, at least on some level. And now it would be his duty to destroy that ship to prevent them from doing that. I just thought that was a really interesting, and every time the camera went to Reese there, I was remembering that conversation from earlier in the episode, and that, you know, he's kind of on Book's side, but he still is going to do his duty as a Starfleet officer if ordered to do so. And I wouldn't want to be in that situation if I held those same beliefs that he did. That's pretty intense.
It is intense, and he was horrified by the device because he knew immediately what it would do just by looking at the
Mm-hmm.
schematics. He was just like, oh no, this is bad. You can't come back from this. But
Yeah.
that was the whole point of it. If there was no other solution,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I mean, even if they had stopped them, I don't know. If the, I really didn't feel like it was going to come down to them getting killed, Tarka and Book. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to cry any tears over Tarka, but, but I'm just like, no, I like Book and I want to see his beautiful face more. Thank you. And a
Mm-hmm.
few more shots with him with his shirt off would not hurt. But, you know, I can always go back to season 3 for that.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I especially now that, like you said, he's come around. He's, you know, he's back on side. So that leaves me to wonder what Tarka is going to do now, because he's still a wild card and he's slippery, right? So, you know, the power source for this thing that he wanted to get his hands on is out of his reach in the here and now, but there's a wormhole connecting it to where 10C is. So, you know, I've got to think he's already formulating, like, can I attack them through the wormhole and blow it up that way and get the power source somehow. And by that point, that's a direct attack on the 10C where they live, which is got
Mhm.
to be orders of magnitude worse than what they've done here. So I
Yeah.
think he's a real clear and present danger at this time.
Yes, at this point, this is going to sound extreme. What you do is you put this guy in stasis. You do not have him conscious. You do not have him awake and aware. You do not even have him in the brig. That is not going to be enough and contain him to contain him. You put him in stasis and you lock him behind like 50 force fields and 50 armed guards because that's what it's going to take. They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to do that though. They're not going to do that. I know they're not going to do that. But that's the
Yeah.
only way. With short of killing him, that's the only way to keep that guy from doing something stupid.
I like Matthew's comment. I definitely think that book is going to hit him before things finish in 3 weeks. Yeah, that fist is coming his way at some point,
I hope so.
I think. Yeah, so to be continued on Tarka, as DJ Kitty Cat says here, Yeah, he doesn't have any more of that weapon, but he's gonna think of something. He's gonna do something. There's more to come from him, I think, somehow. So
Unfortunately, I think you're right. No, I mean, not
yeah.
unfortunately for you, but unfortunately, I think that he is, like you said, a clear present and present danger.
Mhm. That's the sound my anxiety about Tarka makes. Yep.
Where's Section 31 right now? We could use some Section 31 solutions for Tarka.
Uh, nah, I'm good without them.
I didn't say we
um,
had to see him on screen.
yeah. Well, yeah, as Wellington says here, on a lighter note, Saru's got a girlfriend.
This has been coming for some time, since
Yes,
season
indeed.
3, pretty much. So, yeah,
Oh,
but this was adorable. This was like the best feel good part of the episode was Saru and Tarina, because it hits, he's struggling with keeping a clear head and trying to do this meditation that Tarina helped him with. And so he contacts her, and they're doing the little hologram thing, and even though she's a hologram, she can still tell that he isn't focusing when they're trying to do the meditation exercise. And then she starts saying all these very hinty things
hmm
about, finding solace in the regular things that you do during the day, or perhaps, sharing a dinner with a friend. And I'm like, "Oh, here we go. All engines at full. We have a hit."
hmm
She
Now,
hits on him in the most Vulcan way.
I don't want to come right out and accuse Saru of lying. I think that's a little bit too far. But I
Mm,
think he probably had just he was totally fine meditating on his
mm.
own, and that was a lovely excuse to get to talk to Tarina. And I think it was her presence that made him not focus on the meditating. I think he was better
Mm.
focused when she wasn't there. That's my guess, because um yeah, like I said, I don't want to accuse him of lying, but I think he's very good at self-deception in this episode. And I think
Yeah,
his motivations um maybe weren't as apparent to himself as he thought they were.
I agree fully, because to our knowledge, that is, what we know about Saru at this point, to our knowledge, he has never before been attracted to anyone
Mhm.
in a romantic way.
As far
And
as we
my
know,
guess
yeah.
is, yeah, my guess is he does not know what to do with that, as is evidenced in that scene with Culber, which
Oh,
is
yes.
possibly my favorite Saru Culber scene ever.
Mhm.
And they've had some good ones, especially after Culber came back as a mushroom body zombie, which is how
Sure.
Wilson Cruz refers to himself on Twitter. He was having a conversation with Gates McFadden, and she was making jokes about Sub Rosa and his abs, and he said, "Hey, I'm just a zombie in a mushroom grown body. What do I know?" And I'm like, "That's
Hmm.
fair."
That's fair. I like that. Um, yeah, that scene between Saru and Culber is so terrific. And Culber's, set it up first, I guess. Saru is all flustered and talking to Culber and getting advice and saying, like, how can I tell her that I don't think it's a good idea to pursue this relationship? And Culber's like, well, do you have feelings for her? And Saru's like, I think that maybe yes. And it's all so adorable. Um, I was telling Brandi this before we started as well. When I first watched that, I've actually only seen the episode once. I watched it last night for the first time. It's been a really crazy busy week. But when it got to that scene, for some reason, what I thought Saru, or what I imagined Saru was going to say was like, I think that maybe she's pretty neat. Like, I don't know why. That's totally what his face was saying to me. And then Culber coming back with, in my professional opinion, and with all due respect, you're being an idiot. That was perfect.
Absolutely perfect. And I had hoped that basically that was what Culber was going to say. I was pretty sure that he was. The fact that he said the exact thing that I was thinking, which was you're being an idiot. That just
Oh.
that made me so happy. And just this idea, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but we have to reach for people. We have to connect with people. We have to
Mhm.
take chances, or there's never any joy. There's maybe it doesn't work out, but that's fine too. That's just the way things are. But they say that it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I actually disagree with that because ignorance is bliss. But at the same time, to I would rather regret something that I did rather than something that I didn't do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit on something really fundamental there, which is, yeah, the regret of the road not taken, rather than, taking a road and finding out that wasn't really for me, but I'm glad to know that now. I
Mhm.
always find that position to be preferable. Um, So yeah, absolutely. And it fits in with the overall theme of this entire episode, which is kind of that finding common ground
Mm.
between two sides, right? We see that with Reese and Bryce. Culber's advice there is to find out what you do agree on and build a foundation from that. You know, Book and Burnham, obviously, right? That's a big thing in the episode here. And then I think Saru and Tarina, that's great advice for them as well, is find those little commonalities that you have with each other, and try and build on that. And like you said, maybe it doesn't work out, but then and I love that. I also just have this image of Saru as like an elder statesman, and like
Mm.
I feel like he would inhabit that role really well, and like the consort of a president, just like that, that just
Mm.
fits him somehow. Like he carries himself very stately, and I feel like he'd do very well in that arena, in that world. So I think it would
Yeah.
work out.
I personally feel like they would be the best couple. But that's just my
Oh yeah,
opinion.
the
They
Navarre and
obviously
Kraminar power couple, absolutely.
right? Just, it would be a beautiful example of how physical differences don't really matter. It's the way you see things, the way you connect, the way the things you agree on that you have in common. That's what's most important. Because,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, honestly, sex is great, you guys. It's great, but it's not everything. And if there isn't a deeper connection tying you to a person, then it's never going to be more than just, sex.
Mhm.
So, and I don't think that's something that's actually that important to Saru, the whole physical intimacy. And because I'm sure people have been thinking about that. It's kind of the elephant in the room when you're thinking about a Vulcan with a Kelpian. But, that's not all there is
Mhm.
to love or friendship or any relationship. That's not all there is. That's actually, more like a fringe benefit. Because if you don't have that connection, that other stuff isn't going to last.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't put that better myself. That makes perfect sense. And they're just so good together. Like
They are.
every scene we've had of them together, the two actors just have such a chemistry as these
They do.
characters. And um yeah, I think, like, obviously they saw that last season with them together, and they're like, "Oh, okay, let's build on that." And Yeah, I think Culber, they need to follow his advice because,
Hmm.
yeah, might be missing out on something really great. So,
Yeah, why not just give it a shot? You,
absolutely.
really, what do you have to lose?
Yeah. So, anything we haven't touched on, slash, any final thoughts for Rubicon?
I I thought the actual visual scenery around the DMA was really beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
the area where there was the clouds and it looked like you were kind of, in high atmosphere on a planet or something. And just this variety of things, the further closer you get to the controller and all these different things that are orbiting it, not really. It's just kinda dragging it along. But
Hmm.
it was just beautiful and really well done, and I enjoyed that, and, I enjoyed Non. The one thing between, Bryce and Reese is I always wanna say Rice and Breece because I accidentally did it a long time ago, and now I have to think about it every time, is that they are, uh Bryce says something very, very smart. Stop comparing pain because there you can't compare pain. That's like comparing joy. That's like comparing wounds. I mean, pain is pain.
Hmm.
It's all pain. Having a competition over whose is worse is unproductive and
Yeah,
unfair because
yeah.
each person is experiencing pain differently. And
Hmm.
you could have the exact same thing happen to 2 people, and they react to it very, very differently. So, making a comparison is very unfair.
Yeah, yeah. Because in that game, there's only one winner,
Mhm.
and that means that that person's pain is the only pain that anybody ever need care about. But no,
Tarka! Tarka!
that doesn't work because we all have our pain. We all have things that we're dealing with, and yeah, it's yeah, it's not compassionate to say, um, well, at least you don't have it as bad as so and so. Well, yeah, but
Yeah,
then you could
that's
just turn
that
around and say that to them about someone else. So that doesn't work.
yeah, and there have been so many times where someone has said, "Yeah, well, at least it's not, it could be worse," things like that. That actually doesn't make anyone feel better.
Hmm.
That doesn't all it does is invalidate the situation that you're currently in. And so when, if I'm complaining about something and someone would say, "Oh, it could be worse," I'd just be like, "You're an unfeeling, horrible person. Go away." So that's just you don't say that to people. You are not that person. You do not know what is going on in their heart, in their mind, in their feelings. Just don't act like their pain is somehow less important because somebody else has it worse by your estimation.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
No,
That
that
that that was
and that's
that
a
was
really
almost
good
a
point.
rant. It's almost a rant. I was
Rants are
approaching
good.
rant.
This is a great arena for rants. So
Yeah, I usually raise my voice a lot more during rants though, so that's we backed away from that. So my
splitting
final
in
thoughts
half.
is I'm yeah. We'll see. Hoped for book punches to Darkus. We might have one coming. I kind of feel it. Um, yeah, this was a good episode in my opinion. I understand how people might have found it predictable, but that's only a surface thing for me.
Mhm.
Underneath, there are lots of things in here that weren't necessarily predictable, but maybe did need to happen. And I predicted after Book left Discovery that within 2 to 3 episodes, Book would have his come to Jesus moment.
Mhm.
So now, does that make it predictable? No, I'm just reading people is kind of my thing. So that's what I was getting, because everything that we'd been shown about Book so far, I had taken into consideration. And so, and you can, if you want to hear the disagreement we had about that on what the future holds, check out not the last episode, but the episode prior to that.
Ooh, interesting.
And you can hear about that. So, which, it got to the point where I just finally had to call it and say, okay, we're moving on, because we were going around in circles and around in circles and around in circles. So anyway, I give this episode one gigantic non. I mean, just the biggest non you can think of.
See, now I'm just and no disrespect to the actor or the character. I'm just, every time we talk about naan, I get hungry for naan bread, and yeah.
Even though it's not spelled the same, but yeah, I get
No,
that. I
not
love
spelled the
non.
same, but
I love
the
non,
pronunci-
and I love non.
I love both of those as well. So yeah, very similar thoughts. I really enjoyed this episode. Not my favorite of the season. That's a spot that's going to be really hard to unseat. I still love the episode, The Examples, so much, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I personally didn't think it predictable, but at the same time, like I can see like the broad strokes of what was going to happen. Yeah, I guess that's predictable, but to me, that's not what the show is about. It's about how the characters respond to situations, and how they deal with things. And the minute they got the isolinium in the last episode and started building the weapon, you knew it was going to be used, and they were going to have to deal with the follow to that. We know, you just know this, the season's not going to end with them stopping them and making peaceful first contact. That's not dramatic. That's nothing, right? So the complications of the things happening, that's surface stuff, and it's stuff that we all know is going to happen because it's an action show in a lot of respects, in that respect. But deeper than that, it's a show about the characters and the relationships, and this episode had a lot to say about relationships between characters, and I'm here for all of it. I really enjoyed it all. So yeah, I'll give it one spectacular DMA controller explosion, only to be replaced by a full DMA moments later. So very impressive and flashy, but also very deep with a lot of implications for the future. So there we go. That's my rating for the episode. Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for your ratings and for the comments. I really loved the discussions this week. And oh wow, thank you, Wellington. Very, very unexpected. And thank you so much. You go safely as well. I really appreciate that. And let me just ban another bot. And they're gone.
It's
All
gone.
right.
Freaking bots.
Yeah, gross. What the heck is... Ugh. Anyway, Brandi, where can people find you when you're not here talking about Discovery?
Nowhere. I don't do anything else.
You're cloaked and spore jumping away.
That is true. I do love the cloak. Yeah, you can just find me on Twitter, Brandywine12. That's where I always post about new things that I'm doing. So, or retweeting them from other accounts when I've posted episodes of podcasts. Because there's the podcast account, of course, and then there's the personal account. So I post to the podcast account and then I retweet it. So getting the word out.
Yeah.
Just go there. It's the easiest way.
Absolutely. Well, for me on Twitter at Kertrats, Kertrats, and of course the Positively Trek podcast with Bruce Gibson. We just recorded our episode for this week for this episode, Rubicon, and then later in the week we have our book club episode, and we are talking about the new audio drama, the Star Trek Picard audio drama, No Man's Land, starring Jerry Ryan and Michelle Hurd. I almost said Rafi Musiker. So, mixing up characters and actors here. Starring the two of them, written by Kirsten Beyer and Mike Johnson.
Mm.
And we may just have 2 of the names that I just mentioned on the podcast. I'll let you guess which ones. It's not Jerry Ryan and Michelle Hurd. I wish it was. It's not. But it is Kirsten Beyer and Mike Johnson, the writers. I'm so excited to have them on the show. Kirsten Beyer, of course, also staff writer for Star Trek Picard and formerly Star Trek Discovery as well. So, yeah, very excited about that. Check that out. I'm so excited. We haven't had the conversation yet. We're recording that later, but it'll be out this coming Friday. So,
Exciting!
yeah. So yeah, coming out this coming Friday, February 25th is when that episode drops. So yeah, excellent. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been so much fun. We will be back next week with an episode of which I don't know the name of yet, but
I don't either.
episode 10 of season 4. And more Tarka shenanigans, I fear, but yeah, we'll get through it together. So yeah, live long and prosper, take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.